Yeah, I think I know. I mean, obviously, you and I talked before about kind of the beats of the story and how that could look. How do you figure out whether or not that's the best like beat? Is that sort of thing you do in passes? Because I feel like I have this stress in my head that, oh, the plot point too, it's got to be like the perfect context. They've got to learn this, but it's like from a story perspective, they have to learn this. This would have to happen. The character would have to get to this place. But, do they do it in this context or this context or this context? And there's always questions about like trying to find the right context for it, or is it an action scene? Is it a dramatic, dialogue scene? Is that something you would just catch in another pass and just like, get a rough idea of the story first and then worry about deciding if it's perfect? Or would you try and hone in on it earlier on? Does that make sense?
Well, if you've done sufficient work on your character and you've done it well enough, you'll just know what the character is going to do. Like you'll know how they're going to react and you'll know what to do to them to get a reaction out of them, just based on who they are. The best example I can give to you of this is think of your best friend or anybody that you know really well, relative or whatever. Because you know them well, you know how they would react to certain things. So if you want to get them to do a particular thing, you'll say something specific or do something because you know how that person would react to it. And the things that you would decide to do to that person in your life is not what you would do to the other person to get them to do the same thing, because you know that they just wouldn't react the same way. Think about it that way. Because if you've created your character well enough and deeply enough, those sorts of answers will become apparent to you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
yes. So they'll
Yeah.
start to become apparent to you. And then the skill for you as the writer is to create compelling situations that are realistic and natural to your story. That's where your skill comes into it. But the actual decision making comes from knowing who your character is and then knowing the world that you built and then saying that, okay, within this world that I've built and this character that I have, who is this sort of person, has been through X, Y, and Z. In this world, this is what would happen that would make them do what I need them to do in order to get to this next point in the story. It will be more natural and realistic because you know who they are at that point.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the video. I'm sure you're learning a lot, or at least I hope you are. I wanted to give you a quick heads up that I have a free newsletter with tips and advice on screenwriting linked in the description of this video. So make sure that you click on that link, sign up to the newsletter, check your emails, make sure that you click the blue button in the confirmation email to make sure that it goes directly into your inbox, and also add the email to your saved trusted contacts to make sure you do not miss a post, okay? And I send a post once every week, once every couple of weeks, but it's also got great insight for you on screenwriting. All right, guys, back to the video.
You've seen Back to the Future, right?
Yeah.
You've seen it. A great example is calling him chicken or calling him yellow, like, oh, yellow, you're chicken. Anytime that they say that to Marty McFly, all his logical decision-making goes out of the window because that's an issue to him. That's it's a very simple example, but it's a great example of it, that he doesn't behave logically when you say that to him.
Yes.
Because of his idiosyncrasy, just because of who he is. So we know when a character says that, we're like, oh, God, just leave, leave. Because you know already that, oh, you know how he's going to behave. You know how he's going to react. Those sorts of things is what makes a character realistic, but it also allows your audience or your reader to identify with somebody because they start feeling like they know them, because they can sort of predict that, oh, I know what he's going to do now. I know what he's going to do. And listen, what he's going to do is like, it's not that it's predictable. It's predictable to that person. That's the mistake you want to get away from, because some people just do things where the story is predictable. It's like, okay, we're going to have this guy and there's going to probably be a person who's going to say this and whatever. That's bad predictable. Good predictable is that you create a unique character that does unpredictable things, but if you know this person, it's not unpredictable. Because you're like, or even the act of an unpredictable act, if the person is just psychotic, like the Joker is crazy. So you're like, I don't know what the Joker is going to do. And that's the point, because he just does things you're not expecting. So that's the sort of way that you think about it, because then it makes it very easy to deal with what you're dealing with. in terms of deciding on what to do.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I love what you said about, like, once you know your character well enough, you'll know, like, the worst case scenario for them and how to put them in that. And as soon as I think of, like, oh yeah, my friends and my relatives that I know, like, I know, like, what situation they would consider as like the hardest thing in their life. So I think, like, if I was ever in that situation, that's when I would struggle the most. And I feel like that's because I know the character. Exactly. That's a great point. That's a great point.